What is up, guys? It's your boy Strand Cactus, and today we've got some brand spanking new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that just went live, unveiling official information. And so, let's get started. Now, this week was absolutely huge for Destiny 2. So much stuff happened, so much information regarding the upcoming Lightfall expansion, and the majority of the TWAB is kind of recapping that information, but also adding to it. So the first thing that is covered is earlier in the week, we got a brand new Lightfall gameplay trailer called the Weapons and Gear trailer. And in it, Bungie showed off brand new exotics coming to Destiny 2 with Lightfall. 3 new exotic weapons, 3 exotic armor pieces, as well as the exotic catalyst for the Quicksilver Storm for 7 exotics total. Guys, if you haven't seen the video I already made on this, breaking down the brand new gameplay with those, absolutely check it out. It is linked up above. But since that trailer came out, again, supplemental additional information has also been released. We have new promotional images for pretty much all of these exotics, as well as updated descriptions. So let's go over those. First of all, for the final warning, it says hold down the trigger of this kinetic slot strand sidearm to mark targets with range and load a burst of bullets. When hip firing, projectiles track aggressively towards marked targets. So the interesting takeaway here, kinetic slot strand sidearm. So is this Bungie confirming that strand weapons are going to be in the kinetic slot along with stasis weapons? They may have mentioned this earlier, but I can't remember, so this may well be the first time they're doing so. Moving on from there, guys, deterministic chaos. While holding the trigger, every 4th bullet of this Void machine gun becomes a heavy projectile that weakens targets on impact. Every 4th of those heavy projectiles make targets volatile on impact. Again, this is new information. The trailer just said the 4th shot, and we didn't know if it was only 1 shot, but this is confirming every 4 shots you will be reapplying weaken or potentially applying it to multiple targets, and that makes this thing actually quite a bit better than again what we saw in the trailer. Moving on from there, the Winter Bite. This heavy slot exotic stasis glaive fires a large ball of energy that locks onto nearby targets and freezes them. So again, the new piece of information is that this is the first ever heavy slot glaive. Now, this makes it very interesting because is this going to make it dead on arrival? No one's going to give up their heavy, take off your Galahorn and put on a glaive. That is a big ask. However, you need to remember that in the heavy slot, you'd think that, well, obviously this is going to do significantly more damage than other glaives that are special weapons, but it's still a glaive, which should mean this heavy weapon will require 0 ammo to do its melee attacks. Just like other glaives, I can take one with 0 ammo and do a pretty significant amount of melee damage to a target. So is this basically going to be like an infinite ammo heavy sword almost? That could actually be pretty interesting. Moving on from there, we have the Citan facade, which says, after grappling, this exotic helmet gives extra protection as hunters gain body armor, only body, the head is still vulnerable, and flinch resistance. So potentially, you grapple, and then you gain damage resistance. Depending on how long this lasts, it could be pretty decent. Moving on from there, the Abayant Leap. When Titans use their barricade, it gives extra armor to its wielder and spawns 2 additional seeking projectiles that track targets aggressively and suspend them. So the extra armor is the new thing that we didn't know about. That's definitely a point in this thing's favor. Moving on from there, the Swarmers. This new exotic leg armor allows warlocks to create threadlings to infest and attack enemies after destroying a tangle. Very interesting. Again, if you want to see the raw gameplay of these things being used, check out my other video. Now, moving on from there, guys, we have another thing that happened this week, actually just yesterday, which was Bungie revealed their weapon tuning that is arriving when Season 20, aka Lightfall, launches. So, again, did a big breakdown video on all those changes. It is linked up above. Check it out. But here are the cliff notes. Machine guns got a pretty reasonable damage buff, 10% overall. Heavy grenade launchers are the big winners. 20% more damage against bosses, 40% against everything else. Moving on from there, they increase the bonus damage that kinetic weapons do. Linear fusion rifles are getting nerfed. Subclass verbs for more exotic weapons, so a lot more things that cause like burns, like the sunshot and stuff, they're now gonna cause scorch stacks. So they synergize a lot more with your Solar 3.0 builds. In addition to that, there's some various perks that got tuned. The big one from there is a nerf to Weist Stinger, which kind of also even further nerfs the best linear fusion rifles. But moving on from there, guys, something really interesting happened this week. So, hotfix 6.3.0.7 removed blues as drops for Guardians who have reached the soft cap. Bungie talked about this earlier, but the first time they tried to do this, it completely screwed up the game. Like, no one could log in. It was a disaster. So, this is kind of a band-aid solution, because what's actually happening in the game right now is that blues are kind of still dropping if you reach that soft cap, in the sense that you still get loot, but what Bungie has done is that every time you should get a blue from killing an enemy, you instead get a legendary, right? So the result of this is right now, until the launch of Lightfall, when they inevitably fix this, where, you know, they just don't drop at all, you now have like the best legendary shard farm in the entire game, which is basically just playing the game, right? Like, if you are low on legendary shards, absolutely just play the game right now. Now, this does come with a warning, guys. The massive amount of legendaries actually does mean you need to watch your postmaster. I've seen a lot of people have their stuff, like their ascendant shards, getting pushed out of their postmaster because they're getting like so many different legendaries. But again, in terms of shards and resources, it is a great time to play right now. Moving on from there, Bungie makes the announcement that just before Lightfall drops, so on February 27th, 9 a.m. Pacific, a Destiny 2 will be offline for 24 hours. So just keep that in mind, like if you're trying to farm the Wendigo, which is farmable in the Adept version in the final week before Lightfall, don't save it to the last day. Moving on from there, guys, they talk about some Cabal Scorpions needing some tough love. They say, a reminder that Iron Banner is live this week. It's the last Iron Banner before Lightfall, and they actually did go in and increased the reputation gains across the board, so you're gonna get significantly more rewards. So yeah, and then moving on from there, they're celebrating the Black History Month. And they have this statement from Black at Bungie, which you can see right here. And they want to remind everyone that you can support Black Americans by purchasing the Be Heard pin at the Bungie store and the EU Bungie store, with all profits going to the Southern Poverty Law Front. Now, moving on from there, guys, you're going to get your chance to pick the next Trials of Osiris map. So, as long as you've opted into receiving Bungie marketing emails, you can choose between the Fortress, Twilight Gap, or Radiant Cliffs, and the winner obviously will be the featured Trials map next week. Alright guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.